Hello everybody, HTCG here, and welcome back to the Cardcast podcast. Today I am joined with Zack from Chaos Galaxy. Hello, Zack.
Hiya, how's it going?
Today we are going to be talking about something that I'm really interested in hearing about from him, and that is kind of the journey of creating your own homemade trading card game and actually releasing it. So, first thing I want to ask you is just, how did it feel when you first got that Game Crafter package?
Um, it felt pretty surreal, to be honest, since all through my childhood, I was just making cards on my home printer, and then having something professionally made actually turn up at my door. I just, everything looks 10 times better when it's kind of done by a professional printer. So yeah, that was amazing. And then also the fact that I knew that having things made by the Game Crafter meant that other people could get their hands on them too is just as exciting as well.
So when you first created Chaos Galaxy, because I remember watching some of your videos way back in the day, because I was just interested in, printing and playing and just like, coloring my game and on paper and playing it with my siblings, a lot of like how your original content was. So when you decided to go to the Game Crafter, what made that push?
I think it was just because people asked me to. I never really started the game with any ambition to start selling them based off my kind of connections on YouTube. But yeah, like I said, it just started with me making games in my bedrooms, playing with my siblings, and then quite a few people asked, like, oh, in the comments section, can we get our hands on some packs? And then that happened enough. Came across the Game Crafter after doing some research and just thought it seemed like an easy way to take the game to that next step, which I'm obviously really glad I've done now.
Yeah, it's crazy looking back through the years because you just released set 4, right?
Yes, that came out just before Christmas.
Yeah, obviously it's been a crazy year, so I'm looking forward to properly checking out that set. But you're 4 sets in, you've got a lot more content for the game, the new planet being added. Is this the original direction that you really wanted the game to go? Obviously you weren't expecting to really sell it, but working by yourself, were you planning on dedicating Chaos Galaxy to be the project, or were you wanting to have a bunch of different little side TCGs like in your previous videos with elementals?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I think Chaos Galaxy is definitely, I'm happy continuing on that path at the moment. However, I can definitely see a point in the future where Chaos Galaxy either runs out of steam or I want to start developing new ideas and then go on to a different TCG. But I didn't really go into it with a plan. I just created the game as I've created dozens of TCGs in the past, and then this one's just kind of stuck because I enjoy it so much, and then obviously the feedback through YouTube and the Game Crafter has kind of spurred me on to continue with it.
Yeah, for sure. It would be very strange if Chaos Galaxy died off at this point, but who knows what the future holds. I think one of the stranger things for me to think about, I'm also wondering on your take on this, is when the game is created, obviously it was sort of made on the Game Crafter from just a printed out game. And from that time, your art has gotten significantly better, your understanding pacing of games and everything. But when it was released, I know a lot of inspiration that it gave both myself and other creators was the fact that it looked possible to make. Like when I look at, say, like Resolution Breakers and some of those other big games, the art is absolutely fantastic. It has all these really exciting things. And I always thought, okay, I wouldn't be able to create that. But the original set of Chaos Galaxy gives me that sort of vibe of like, all right, anybody could do this. But looking at it now, it still gives off a similar vibe, but it's feeling a lot more professional as it goes. So if you created a new game, would you try to go in a more professional looking route or keep that homemade feel to the game?
No, I definitely think that kind of the homemade aspect is a lot of the appeal to my game. That's that's just my art style. That's how I've always done artwork. I wouldn't suddenly change to make, say, like a pixel art game or a manga style card game. I just have my style that I enjoy drawing in, which does just happen to give off that appeal, like the balance between nice looking cards and, yeah, like you said, things that people can draw at home on their own. I think part of it is it's almost like as your art gets better, it's easier to make simpler cards. I don't know if this makes sense, but if you think about like painting, you get super famous artists like Picasso or something. They start off their careers drawing amazing realistic drawings, and then kind of as they go on, they just start doing more abstract, free art that doesn't look as appealing, but they're still very talented.
Yeah, I do see what you mean, and also you get a lot more of just the muscle memory to make things quicker.
Yes, true. And yeah, I mean, speed with a TCG is quite important. If it takes you like an hour to draw one card, a hard time releasing a set of 100 cards at any time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm starting to run into that problem myself.
Yeah. No, I do as well, definitely.
But I'm just going to take a second to talk about something that, like, I've kind of... like, I'm at this point where hopefully either by the end of this year or beginning of next year, depending on just how life goes, I'm planning on fully releasing my game Pillars. And
yeah, cool.
It's just crazy to me because my whole life it's just been I've made games with my siblings and my cousins and my friends, and we've just had a blast. And now I'm getting to the point where I could be an officially published TCG. It may not be big, I may not sell much, but that's just a massive goal for me to accomplish. So I'm at this point where I'm just trying to figure out like what all direction I should do, how professional I want to make it. And so from someone that's already gotten, and I know I'm not the only one, a lot of people are getting to this stage or have just released, from someone who has been doing this for years now, what are like little tips to kind of ease you into the process?
I think one tip is don't be too precious about it. Like, there's always things you could do to make your game better before you release it. But if you kind of, go, I'm going to put it off a couple of months. I just need to tweak this thing about the rules, which means I need to change these few cards. You'll just kind of never get to the point of releasing it. And I know Chaos Galaxy is not a perfect game, nowhere near, but just getting it out there, kind of, putting it onto the Game Crafter, seeing a couple of sales really pushes you then to make the game better from its release. Obviously, planning's important. Don't just kind of go in all guns blazing and release cards like non-stop straight away. But yeah, I think my biggest tip would be just do it.
No, that is fair. That's something that I've gotten to in my game is I was always concerned because I'm not good at drawing at all. I'm trying to figure it out, and it's getting better, but it's not great. I came down to the decision where I was like, well, some of my cards are going to look bad. Like, what I'm going to draw, not all of it's going to look great, and it might take away some from the game, but my game's not going to be released if I don't, except the fact that it's my game, I'm going to have to do most of the art for it, and I just would rather have it released because it's the core rules and like setting of the game that is actually important. And so
yeah.
So with that in mind, lose my train of thought a little bit, but with that in mind, coming into today, one of the things I did kind of want to talk about a little bit was like what really got you into trading card games in the first place. Because I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Is what you talk about a lot on your channel, but like, how did it become such an obsession to create games?
Yeah. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was the start point. I remember when I was about 8 years old in the school playground, someone gave, everyone was playing with Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, and then just kind of got obsessed from there. I remember one thing, I went round to a friend's house after school when I was about 10 years old, and it was just, we wanted to buy some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, but they were so expensive, so we just kind of made our own. And just, I think it's kind of my passion for like collectible trading cards because I just love that thrill of like, you know, opening a pack, getting a great card ever since I've started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was about 8. And just kind of my passion for art as well. Like I've always enjoyed drawing, even when I haven't been making trading card games. As a kid, I'd always come home from school at the end of the day and start drawing. I think it's just the combination of a passion for those two things has kind of pushed me to be so obsessed with trading cards. Yeah, a combination of elements, really.
And then one of the things that I've talked about with other people before is it's very impressive what you're able to do with your YouTube channel. There's constantly new content out there, thinking up new ideas to post, and you don't really seem to take videos off. You put an effort into all of them. And so it comes to the point where it's very impressive and it's a lot of hard work, especially because, you know, you've got your own life. You were doing schooling for a lot of the life of this game. Did it ever get to the point where Chaos Galaxy wasn't fun to produce, and you just felt pressured to do it, or has it always just been a fun hobby?
That's a good question. It does get difficult. Probably more than I let on to in my videos. Like there are quite often days when I'm quite stressed out at work, or you know, I've just got lots of things on in my daily schedule, and I'm just like, oh, the last thing I want to do now is go home and have to make a Chaos Galaxy video. I'm so often refreshed. Like I'll kind of open up YouTube, see like some really nice YouTube comments from people, or like open up the Discord and see that some people are actively having kind of discussions about Chaos Galaxy cards, which I'll just kind of get back into the groove of making videos after I see that sort of thing. But I think starting out is difficult because when you're first building that presence on YouTube, it takes a while to get to the point where you get a sort of fan base, and it can definitely be disheartening when, you know, you put a lot of effort into videos and making the cards to show off in a video, and it only gets like 20 views and like one comment or whatever. But luckily for me, I think that was the time when I just finished school before I headed off to university, and I just had a lot of free time, and I was like making trading cards anyway, so I was like, why don't I just put them on YouTube regardless of if they get views or not? And then consistent uploading is key. Like after I'd uploaded consistently for about 20 videos, weekly posted, then I started to get decent feedback.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think a lot of people need to keep in mind, because when I first started, I wasn't getting many views, and I had done YouTube before, and I had been semi-successful at it, but this was kind of a whole different ballpark. I wasn't doing gaming videos. I was just posting about what I was working on, my projects. I don't have a great camera to record with, and so I'm just trying to figure out new content. And as I just came up with more stuff over the course of the first quarantine in my state, I posted a lot more once a week, and then and it was a lot of work, but my views were going up, and then it got to the point where I got a job across the country. I was working in Yellowstone National Park, so a place without internet, and so as I'm working over there, I came back. I wasn't really posting much afterward because I just got out of that groove, and the only reason I came back was because I got an occasional Discord message or comment just being like, hey, when's this coming back? I'm really interested in this stuff. And I don't think people realize how much just small comments like that really mean to a creator. I got comp the other day where someone was talking about, oh, this is a great tutorial. I hope you deserve some more subs. I hope you get some more stuff posted. And that's what's really keeping me going throughout this. So I just feel like a lot of people need to just start working until they get to that stage, because it's hard to produce content for no one, but eventually you're going to get a fan base no matter what you do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think with trading card games, it's quite a positive community for that, because obviously everyone in the community is so nice, but it's quite a small community too. So if you start posting about trading card games at home, people in that community will definitely see those videos. It's not like, say, if you make Minecraft videos, you could make videos for years and years and they'll just get lost in the YouTube algorithm of the millions of other people making Minecraft videos. Like TCGs, it'll be quicker to reach those first few subscribers and slowly build up a fan base than a lot of other types of YouTube video. But then on the flip side, obviously the community being quite small, you do kind of reach a limit where, you know, you're never going to get like millions and millions of subscribers and like be the next PewDiePie or whatever, because it's obviously quite a niche in YouTube.
Yeah. It's another thing, like, from what I've seen at least, you've got the largest channel. Even then, it's not massive on terms of, like, regular YouTube scale. But to a degree, I've really enjoyed that, because even though there's not, like, a super high ceiling, like, it's able to have you on here today and talk to you. And then also, like, I've reached out to, like, Wrath of Course, and I've played his game and talked to him a bunch, and Aether Games, and a bunch of other people that I'm becoming friends with in the community. Because at the end of the day, we all love a very niche topic. And that's what, like, really pushed me, was I joined the Chaos Galaxy Discord one day, and from there found an HTCG Discord that I'm currently an admin in, and even talking with people in YouTube comments, the whole community about this is so nice, and it's not just fake, like, oh yeah, your template looks cool or whatever. I'm getting a lot of really good feedback, a lot of really good interest in my game, and like, I just feel like that's the big thing that anyone that's interested in this needs to get into. Is this is one of the best communities I think you could find on YouTube. So just interacting with people, you're going to be able to get not only some good friends and more people watching your stuff, but it'll make your game so much better.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like, I think the term community is thrown around quite a lot. Like you say the gaming community, it's like, that's not really a community. That's like probably about 1 billion people across the world who speak to each other. Whereas, you know, it is literally, there's like a couple thousand tops in the trading card game community, and we all know each other's games, and we all know who each other are. And then even if someone joins the community, they've only been there a month with like 3 or 4 YouTube videos, you know, it's likely that me and you will both know who that person is.
Yeah, like, oftentimes when I'm bored, I'll just search HTCG and filter it by newest uploaded, and just watch all of the new stuff from that week. And,
yeah, definitely. I do the same.
And it's so, like, it's definitely a nice community, but I am wondering, like, part of the reason I, like, upload videos and got into this was from seeing you and Wrath of Course and Scribbles with Rachel and all of these other YouTubers that were posting their own stuff and had their own games going. But a lot of that stuff was emerging around the same time. And I remember you were uploading decently before a lot of those, like, because, like, now it's commonplace to see Game Crafter uploads, and back in the day there weren't any. So what pushed you to start making card game videos?
Well, I mean, way back in the day, this is like 2013, I think. There was still a TCG community. I don't really think there are any members that are still going. But have you heard of Peter Jank or Jank TV Games?
No, that's before my time.
Yeah, so I think his channel's still up, but basically he was really the first person to make homemade TCGs on YouTube, and he did a weekly series called, I think it was just called HTCGs of the Week, where he'd you know, post like 30-second clips of some TCGs he'd found on YouTube and give them shout outs, and then it started from there. I remember, I'll probably be able to find the video, but yeah, I had like 50 subscribers at the time, and I remember him making a video saying, oh, this new game, Chaos Galaxy, you know, he's got like 50 subscribers, he's working towards 100 or something, I can really see his game going far. And it was like, seeing that was like unbelievable to me at the time. I was like, oh my god, I have to, you know, make more videos, and one day, like, hopefully the community will be bigger, and like Peter Jank will, you know, everyone will see this video giving me a shout out. But there were, yeah, I think around 2012, 2013 was when it first started on YouTube. And then after I watched a few of those videos, at the same time I was making videos for Yu-Gi-Oh! I was part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, and just saw that, hey, there's people making their own card games, posting videos about it. I make videos about trading cards, and I make my own trading cards. I'll just join this community.
Uh, it's so interesting to hear about like what it was before because 2013 I was barely in middle school at that time, so I didn't know too much about a lot of that stuff. But
Yeah,
it's weird how far everything has come. But
yeah, definitely.
when
Maybe I
you
should make a video on that actually, like the history of the HTCG community.
that would be really interesting. At least I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
also it's so interesting to me. We're getting to a point where I've talked about this before on podcasts. Pretty sure both my own and on the Sideboard podcast, where we're getting to a point where you can't just back in the day, it was if someone posted on the Game Crafter, their channel would blow up because people are like, oh yeah, that's really cool. But now we're getting to a point where a lot more people are doing that. The community is getting rapidly bigger. Discords are getting a lot bigger. Channels are getting bigger. I just feel like a lot more people are finding out about this. And so it's getting to a point where just the rules and setting and art of your game are much more important than they used to be, at least in my opinion. So you actually there's so much pressure to try to make a more professional kind of game. I'm just wondering, from your experience, we're going from it was a lot more just homemade, like people checking out different projects, to this kind of rush towards trying to make the most professional card game you can. Do you think, one, do you think that's a good thing? And two, what do you think about just how this evolution has kind of happened?
It's interesting. Do you know, I haven't really thought about that too much, but it's always been, it's always been your TCG kind of needs to be different to stand out. Um, but I think it's more with if how committed you are to the game. Like you said, there's a lot of people now making games that seem to be kind of put together quite quickly and then just put on the Game Crafter. But then I think a lot of those TCGs do tend to fizzle out almost because people get bored of making them or whatever, or they get impatient. They'll upload a few videos and then their game won't sell too much. But I do think that it's more about the kind of the commitment from you than what the actual cards look like at the end of the day. I think that will come, you'll have a more defined art style and the kind of the style of the game, the way it plays. If you kind of just really work on it loads and loads and loads, it will kind of find its own path, if you know what I mean, rather than just you sit down and go oh right, I want to make a TCG, just kind of look at Pokemon straight away and then kind of base your game off that.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean there. Another thing with that I found interesting is a bunch of people have told me, because I've struggled through video ideas because I don't have that many cards out, so it's harder to do deck profiles and faction profiles and different rule bits. It's harder because I don't have enough things to spotlight and talk about. So people have told me, well, you probably started your channel too early, because I uploaded my first video in 2019 and didn't have a single digital card for the game made yet. And it's gotten to the point where for a long time it was hard to upload, and still is because I have less content, but it's gotten to the point where I've been around and in the community long enough that people have told me, they're like, hey, I can't wait to buy your game once it comes out. And obviously I don't care about the money or anything, but just my whole dream about this has been for even just once a game of Pillars to be played that I have no idea it happens, just two people with no influence choose to spend their time playing my game over anything else. And so
Yeah, and that's definitely the healthiest attitude you can have towards your game. That I remember that. Yeah, that was my kind of the ultimate dream, was to just see someone else collecting my card game who I don't know.
Yeah, and it's it's crazy to think how far some of this stuff has come, but from me not having a major presence or being close to getting my game out, because I'm still not. I still have 200 pieces of art I need to make, because I've got a pretty ambitious first set planned, because I'm very much I want my first set. I don't want to release it with Because, like, going to pick on the first set of Chaos Galaxy a little bit, but when it released with its cards, not all planets were completely playable.
Mm.
And, like, for the
Yeah.
time, like, that was all good and everything, but I'm trying to avoid that at all cost with mine because I'm not entirely sure with how my life is going if I would make a second set. You know? I want to be sure that if this is the one pillar set ever released, everything is playable and viable. And so, even though I'm nowhere near close to getting my game done, so many people have expressed interest in getting it because I've just been around long enough. I have not rushed into things, and it's just making people more interested in it.
Yeah, that's the most important thing, especially with YouTube. I mean, you can look at any YouTube, like sort of big YouTube personality, whether it's anything to do with TCGs or not, and they'll just say consistency with uploads is the most important thing to growing your fan base. It's kind of barely, well, not barely even, but it's even less important to have really, really good kind of videos that are edited well, just as long as you're uploading like once a week, once every 2 weeks. That's just the main way to grow it.
Now, a change of topic here, but in Chaos Galaxy, with 4 sets now completed, your work now has come more to how do you make the game faster? How do you make the game more competitive, like growing that scene? How do you add, and especially how do you add more things to make this set interesting, even though there are a lot of cards for the game? How many are you at now? It's over 300, right?
Yeah, it's almost 500.
Really?
I think I had this in a someone asked me this the other day, and I think it was 483.
Wow.
Which is absolutely insane. But
yeah, so first off, congratulations, because that's amazing to be able to just think about unique ideas for all of those. But
thank you. Yeah, some of them are better than others, definitely.
but it's like now that you've got kind of this new direction the game has to go. It's less of just all right, release it, and then in the next set, like set 2, you added in some more complexity to the game. I believe that's when activators were introduced, and you balancing some planets. And you've released a new planet, so that's going to add some new spark into the game. But I am curious, like, which aspect is there, like a part you preferred back when you were just first creating the game, creating the base for your lore, these basic characters, or do you prefer it now when you have more of that kind of marketing aspect of how do I keep my game going? How do I keep it interesting?
Yeah, well, which do I prefer is tough. There's definitely pluses to both sides. Obviously, in set 1, because I was just making the basis for the game, there's a lot more freedom with what direction you can take the game in, and then as the sets are released, you kind of get led down these like sort of channels as to what card abilities should do, which direction you want to take the game. And like you said, now I need to kind of a lot of my focus with the abilities and things is speeding the game up. One problem I've encountered recently is there's sort of a separation between Chaos Galaxy kind of collectors or players or just fans or whatever, that in set 1 it was like everyone was only interested in these 100 cards that I've made, whereas now it's like some people are just interested in artwork, mainly kind of younger viewers who are looking to make their own TCGs. They like kind of artwork, they don't really care about abilities and stats. And then there's like the competitive side of the community who aren't really in it for the artwork, they're into it for the strategic element of playing the game. So it's hard to find the balance now of kind of meeting the demands of those two sort of groups of people.
Yeah, that does make sense. It sounds super stressful to me.
Yeah, it is quite stressful. And occasionally I'll release cards, that I try and make them have interesting abilities, but are simple enough for those younger, sort of newer players to get the hang of. But then, obviously, I could make some things too overpowered, and that tends to get a few like complaints from the competitive side. well, not complaints, but like it's really good to have that feedback to make sure I don't kind of break the game with my own cards. But in set one, there wasn't really that problem. I was just like, oh yeah, I'll make this card, give it this ability, cool.
Yeah, and there's also, like, because I grew up playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh, so I understand some of the things you've done with the game, especially Yu-Gi-Oh was kind of a staple of the game was crazy cards that just, like, made no sense, were completely broken just to spice up the game when you're playing with your siblings. Or, like, your closer friends, but in a non-competitive setting. And you've seen some of those with, in Chaos Galaxy with, I think it's Parallel Universe. I can't remember the name, but Dimension or something. But basically, where you switch which deck you're playing with and everything. And then
Yeah,
the more recent card you released, where you would eliminate all points your opponent had, and like, it's just interesting because some of those cards have had like a lot of complaints from the competitive side, but like those would be super fun from just a casual sit down and play kind of perspective. So it's interesting to see like how you're trying to like manage and like figure out how to build both those communities, because it's important to have people that like, if people want to play your game competitively, they have to be able to, but also you need to keep your game fun. You don't want it to be, you know, like Hearthstone, where like it's not fun if you're not trying to play competitively.
yeah, yeah, of course, and that's kind of the reason why I left the Yu-Gi-Oh community. Well, not left, but just stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh, is because I just wanted to play the decks that were the most fun, not the ones that would like win you 9 out of 10 games. So with Chaos Galaxy, yeah, I was trying to, don't know, I guess just try and kind of keep everything as balanced as possible, which is such a fine line. I definitely can't do it, but just kind of try my hardest to make decks fun. All decks kind of have a weakness and can lose to some other deck. But, you know, take strategy to win with. It's not just like I'll play these 10 cards on my first turn through this one mental ability and then just win straight away.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I've really enjoyed with Chaos Galaxy. It's a bit off topic here, but in the Galaxy Madness tournament, I made it to the round of 16 and almost made it to the Elite Eight. Not quite, but I was playing a borrow deck that I just made. I was just trying to have fun with it. So I had like, I won a game using a Cataplonk with his dumb little ability of revealing a card for a point.
Nice.
And then I was using like Desert Quake to sacrifice Peblos in my deck to take out like like Cranchons and stuff from my opponent. And so I had a lot more fun than like people, like obviously people taking it very seriously had a lot of fun, but it was just so much fun for me using like those kind of wacky strategies. And like part of me was wondering like, oh, does that take away from the competitive? But it was also a lot more fun. I didn't have to play the like competitive archetype decks to be able, obviously my deck was worse than those decks, but I was still able to compete and have fun and win some games with it.
Yeah, 100%. As well, first of all, congrats for reaching the top 16 of Galaxy Madness. I didn't get that far myself. I got knocked out in the round of 32 with my Knight deck. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I was so glad to see so many new faces in that tournament, and a lot of people who hadn't played the game before end up going really far in the tournament. Obviously, I mean, you could kind of predict that at the end it would be a lot of the competitive players that reach kind of the final 8. But then I think that's kind of a good thing, because it's kind of it rewards players who know a lot about the game, have tried out certain combinations that work and don't work. But yeah, even if you're a new player, you can kind of get a decent distance in a competitive tournament, which is, yeah, great to hear.
Now, as we're kind of reaching the end of this episode, just along the lines of competitive, I am curious. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic has put a lot of things on hold for in-person stuff. I remember in a previous video you had talked about the possibilities of running an in-person tournament in, I believe you said London. Is that something you still plan on doing in the game? Having like an in-person meetup with some fans of the game and having like a regular card shop kind of tournament?
Yeah, I mean that would be the absolute dream. I know we were talking about what's kind of the dream to see from a homemade card game, but yeah, a tournament in London. I used to live really near to a game shop that I was really friendly with the staff who worked there, and I'd always be down there, and they'd have Magic tournaments and stuff. Yeah, I spoke to them a little bit, and I'd love to. Yeah, hosting a tournament in London would be amazing. However, the problem is a lot of the fans of the game are based in the US, so it would probably make the most sense to have an in-person tournament there, but then kind of, spending hundreds of pounds to fly over to the US for a tournament, which would definitely be worth the money, but kind of out of sight for me at this point, which is frustrating. But we'll see in the future. There's definitely something I'll look to do once the whole COVID
Yeah.
kind of cloud has floated away.
Then there's always the possibility of like presenting the game at an American card game convention and having a tournament there.
Yeah, that's the thing. In the UK, we don't really have that sort of stuff. We have like Comic-Con. I suppose I could kind of go to Comic-Con and kind of spread the word there. Definitely, card games are definitely much more of a US thing than a UK thing.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy you're able to come on. I think we've had some good talks this episode. Is there any final comments about anything we've talked about you'd like to say before we close this out?
Well, just thanks for having me, and I'm really looking forward to that massive 200 card set when you release it. I'm definitely keeping an eye on Pillars TCG.
That means a lot, man. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Comment people or topics you'd like to see in future episodes. Be sure to subscribe to Zack and check out Chaos Galaxy if you haven't already. I'll see y'all in the next video.